The thing about being underestimated is that it's rarely subtle. It's usually loud, dressed up as humor, and delivered with a smile that dares you to react. The gala was held in the renovated mill downtown, the kind of place companies rent when they want to look successful without actually admitting they're scared of becoming irrelevant. Brick walls scrubbed clean of history, exposed beams pretending to be honest, glass everywhere, so no one could hide and everyone could be watched. I arrived 10 minutes late on purpose. Not fashionably late, strategically late. Late enough that conversations were already flowing, laughter had loosened its tie, and no one was paying attention to the man walking in alone with a neutral expression and a suit that didn't try to impress anyone. I checked my coat, nodded to the bartender, and scanned the room. She was easy to find. My wife, though at work, she preferred partner or girlfriend, depending on which version of herself she was selling, stood near the center of the room, wine glass in hand, laughing too hard at something a man beside her had said. Her laugh had changed over the years. It used to be private. Now it was performative, wider, sharper, designed to be noticed. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The man next to her was Gavin. Everyone called him Gavin, like there weren't 3 other men in the building with the same name. 6'2", gym-polished, wearing a tailored jacket that still somehow looked rented. The kind of guy who leaned when he talked, as if gravity owed him something. I watched him touch her elbow. Not a grab, not even a squeeze. Just a familiar tap, the kind you don't do unless you've already crossed a line somewhere quieter. I didn't go to them right away. That was the first mistake people always assumed I'd make. I took a glass of water instead of a drink and leaned against one of the high tables near the windows. From there, I could see everything. The security turnstiles near the lobby entrance clicking every time someone stepped through. The glass-walled conference room on the mezzanine level with a printed agenda taped inside. The old freight elevator doors at the back, still in use despite the renovations, opening and closing with a low, tired groan, like the building itself was breathing. I noticed details because details were how I paid my bills. Eventually, she saw me. There was a half-second pause in her smile, the way a skipped heartbeat shows up on a monitor if you know how to read it. Then she recovered, lifted her glass slightly in my direction, and turned back to Gavin as if nothing had changed. I waited another minute. Then I walked over. "Hey," I said, my voice easy. She turned fully toward me now. "You made it," she said, leaning in to kiss my cheek. Her perfume was stronger than usual. New. Not my favorite. "Traffic," I said. "True enough." Gavin looked me up and down, the way men do when they've already decided where you rank. "So you're the husband," he said, holding out his hand. His grip was firm in a way meant to communicate something. I let him have it. "That's me," I said. He smiled. "What do you do again?" There it was. The tone wasn't curious. It was theatrical. He wanted an audience. "I consult," I said. "Consult," he repeated, tasting the word. "Right. Between things?" A few people nearby chuckled, softly, safely. My wife laughed too, not nervously, not apologetically, comfortably. "Oh, don't get all defensive," she said, touching my arm like she was calming a dog. "He's just joking." I looked at her hand on my sleeve and then back at Gavin. "Jokes are supposed to be funny," I said. More laughter. Louder this time. Gavin raised his glass. "Come on, no offense meant. It's just, well, this place can be a little ambitious. We're all grinding. You know how it is." I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "I do." He leaned closer, lowering his voice just enough to pretend this was a private moment. "Must be nice, though. No pressure, no deadlines, just vibes." Another laugh. This one came from behind me. I smiled, not because I felt amused, but because I understood something very clearly in Toggle. They thought I was safe to mock. That's what people do when they believe you have no leverage. I should grab a drink, I said, stepping back. Enjoy the party. My wife didn't follow. She turned back to Gavin immediately, their conversation resuming without missing a beat. I caught the word bored float past me as I walked away. Interesting. I stood near the bar again, watching reflections instead of faces. Glass is honest that way. You see what people do when they think no one's looking. At 7:42 p.m., her phone lit up on the table beside her. I couldn't see the full screen, but I saw the name. Gavin. She glanced down, her expression tightening for just a second, then picked up the phone and turned her body slightly away from him as she typed. A moment later, she excused herself. Bathroom, she said to no one in particular. She didn't go toward the restrooms. She went toward the back hallway, past the freight elevator. I checked my own phone. No messages, no missed calls. Just the calendar reminder I already knew was there. 8:30 a.m. All hands call. I stepped outside onto the balcony to get some air. The river below reflected the city lights in broken lines, like something fractured trying to look whole. My phone vibrated. Evelyn Stroud. I answered on the second ring. You ready? She asked. Yes, I said. Announcement goes out in the morning. No leaks, no corrections. Clean handover. I understand. A pause. You're very calm. I'm working, I said. She exhaled. See you at 8. The call ended. Behind the glass, laughter spiked again. I watched as Gavin reappeared from the back hallway, adjusting his cuff, scanning the room. My wife followed a moment later, smoothing her hair, checking her reflection in the darkened window before rejoining the crowd. She didn't look for me. That hurt more than the joke. When I went back inside, the mood had shifted. Alcohol had done its job. People were louder, looser, sloppier. Someone brushed past me and spilled red wine down my sleeve. Sorry, man, Gavin said, suddenly there, handing me a napkin. Clumsy night. I looked at the stain blooming on my cuff. It happens, I said, and handed the napkin back to him. He blinked, confused, then laughed it off and walked away. I didn't stay much longer after that. As I retrieved my coat, I heard my wife's voice behind me. Hey, she said. I'm going to stay a bit. Help with cleanup. Don't wait up. Of course, I said. She hesitated, like she wanted to say something else. Then her phone buzzed again, and the moment passed. I stepped out into the night. Rain had started to fall, light at first, then steadier. The valet line was a mess of headlights and impatience. I stood under the awning and watched the side door of the building. At 9:18 p.m., it opened. Gavin came out first. My wife followed. They didn't kiss. They didn't touch. They didn't need to. They walked toward the parking lot together, close enough that their shoulders brushed. I got into my car and waited. I didn't follow them. Not yet. Because revenge isn't loud at the beginning. It's quiet. And it starts the moment you realize they've been laughing at the wrong man. The rain followed me home. It tapped against the windshield the whole drive, steady and patient, like it had nowhere else to be. I kept the radio off. Silence is better when you're replaying moments you didn't want to understand the first time. I didn't follow them. That mattered. Following turns suspicion into obsession, and obsession makes people sloppy. I wasn't sloppy. Not yet. At a red light 3 blocks from the apartment, my phone buzzed. A text from her. Staying late. Don't worry, love you. No emoji. She used emojis when she was lying casually. This was a serious lie. She needed it clean. I typed nothing back. My apartment was quiet in the way temporary places always are. Furnished but not lived in. Neutral art. Neutral couch. A life staged for someone who didn't plan on staying long. I set my keys down, loosened my tie, and stood in the kitchen without turning on the lights. I replayed the night, not emotionally, but mechanically. Who stood where? Who left when? Which doors opened? Which ones didn't? People think betrayal announces itself with fireworks. It doesn't. It announces itself with logistics. I opened my laptop and pulled up my email. There it was. An unread message, flagged, time-stamped 6 hours earlier. Subject: Interim Leadership Transition. Confidential from Evelyn Stroud. I didn't open it yet. That email wasn't comfort. It was leverage. And leverage only works if you don't touch it too early. Instead, I poured myself a glass of water and sat down at the small dining table that doubled as my desk. From the window, I could see the reflection of the city blinking through rain, like a system rebooting. At 11:04 p.m., the front door opened. I didn't turn around. Her heels came off first, then her coat, then the soft sound of her purse hitting the counter. "Hey," she said carefully, like the word might shatter if she used the wrong tone. I stayed seated. "How was cleanup?" I asked. There was a pause. Not long, just long enough. "Long," she said. Everyone lingered. "Of course they did," I said. "Open bar." She laughed. "Too fast." "Exactly." I finally turned to look at her. Her makeup was mostly intact, but her lipstick was gone. Not smudged. Gone, like someone had wiped it away deliberately. She noticed me noticing. "I had coffee," she said. "Stain." I nodded. "Makes sense." She waited for more. An accusation. A question. Anything. I gave her nothing. She moved closer, leaning against the counter across from me, crossing her arms in a way that felt defensive instead of cold. "So," she said, "did you have fun?" I smiled. "I learned a lot." Her eyes narrowed just slightly. "Like what?" "That your company really values culture," I said. "It's impressive how quickly people bond." She didn't laugh this time. "Gavin was out of line," she said suddenly. "Interesting. I hadn't said his name." "He jokes," she continued. "You know how he is. He didn't mean anything by it." I took a sip of water. "You laughed," I said. Her jaw tightened. I didn't want to make it awkward. "For who?" She exhaled sharply. "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" This was the moment where most men would explode, where they'd demand phones, names, explanations, where they'd turn a suspicion into a spectacle. I stayed seated. "I'm just tired," I said. "Big day tomorrow." That got her attention. "What's tomorrow?" she asked. I met her eyes. "Work." She studied me, searching for cracks. Finding none unsettled her more than anger would have. "Well," she said finally, pushing off the counter, "I'm exhausted. I'm going to shower." "Take your time," I said. She hesitated in the doorway, waiting for me to stop her. I didn't. The bathroom door closed. The shower turned on. Water rushed through pipes like static. I opened my laptop. This time, I clicked the email. The language was clinical, intentional, effective immediately. Pending formal announcement, you are confirmed as Interim Chief Executive Officer. Board call scheduled for 7:45 a.m. All hands communication to follow at 8:30 a.m. Scope includes organizational stability, leadership realignment, and risk containment. Risk containment. I leaned back and stared at the ceiling. They already knew something was wrong. They just didn't know how wrong. The shower stopped at 11:27 p.m. She came out wrapped in a towel, hair damp, face bare. She looked younger like that, softer, almost like the woman I married before ambition sharpened her edges. She walked over and rested her hands on my shoulders. "You okay?" she asked. I looked up at her. Really looked. Her pupils were still slightly dilated. Adrenaline hadn't worn off yet. Whatever she'd been doing tonight, it hadn't been boring. "I'm fine," I said. She leaned down and kissed my forehead. It was affectionate, almost tender, almost. "I'm glad you came," she said softly. I didn't say I was. She went to bed a few minutes later. I stayed up. At midnight, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I didn't answer. A moment later, a text came through. He's panicking. He thinks you noticed. I stared at the screen. Who is this? I typed. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Reappeared. Someone who doesn't want to get dragged down with him. I didn't reply. At 12:14 a.m., another message came in. He went back inside the building after you left. Side door, cameras were on. That detail mattered. At 12:20 a.m., one more. Check the access logs tomorrow. I set the phone down and closed my laptop. In the bedroom, she was already asleep, breathing evenly, one arm flung across my side of the bed like a claim she hadn't earned. I lay down next to her and stared at the ceiling, the building, the side door, the cameras. At 3:11 a.m., I finally slept. At 6:02 a.m., my alarm went off. I didn't snooze it. I showered, dressed, and stood in front of the mirror tying my tie with hands that didn't shake. She stirred as I grabbed my coat. Leaving already? She murmured. Yes, I said. For what? I paused at the door. For work. By the time she sat up, confused, I was already gone. The building was quiet when I arrived. No music, no laughter, just the low hum of electricity and the click of turnstiles waking up. I walked in without a badge. Security looked up. I'm here for Evelyn Stroud, I said calmly. Board call, 7:45. He checked his screen. His posture changed. Of course, sir, he said, standing. Welcome. The turnstile unlocked with a clean, obedient sound. Click. And somewhere upstairs, behind glass and brick and borrowed confidence, a very different day was about to begin. The freight elevator hated mornings. That wasn't superstition. It was mechanical fact. The thing had been installed sometime after the Korean War and refurbished just enough to stay legal. When it moved, it complained. A low, metallic groan that vibrated through the soles of your shoes and up your spine, like the building was reminding you who'd been here first. I wrote it alone. My reflection stared back at me from the brushed steel walls. Same suit as last night, different posture. People underestimate how much posture matters. It's the first thing power changes. The doors opened onto the executive floor at 7:32 a.m. Lights were already on. Too many for that hour. That told me something. Either panic or preparation. In my experience, it was usually both. Evelyn Stroud stood at the far end of the glass corridor, coffee untouched in her hand, looking out over the open office below, like a general surveying a battlefield she'd already decided to burn. You're early, she said without turning. Old habit, I replied. If I'm going to ruin someone's day, I like to see the sunrise first. She allowed herself a thin smile. The board is on in 13 minutes, she said. Legal is standing by. HR is tense. Good, I said. Means they know something's wrong, but don't know how bad. She turned then and studied me the way surgeons study scans. You didn't sleep, she said. I slept enough. That's not an answer, she said. It's the only one you're getting. She nodded once. Respect, not approval. We walked into the boardroom together. Glass walls, long table, screens already lit with muted faces dialing in from different time zones. The air smelled like coffee and expensive anxiety. Introductions were brief, formalities shorter. Evelyn made the announcement cleanly. Effective immediately, Darren Holt is assuming the role of interim chief executive officer. A few eyebrows lifted, a few smiles tightened. No applause. This wasn't that kind of moment. I spoke next. Not about vision, not about growth, not about culture. Good morning, I said. I'll keep this brief. I'm here to stabilize, not inspire. My focus for the next 90 days will be operational continuity, leadership alignment, and risk containment. I paused. Some of you already know why that last part matters. Silence. That silence told me everything I needed. The call ended at 7:58 a.m. By 8:05, emails were already flying. By 8:12, rumors had shape. By 8:20, my wife walked into the building. I saw her from above. She came in through the front entrance, badge swinging, heels clicking confidently against marble. She hadn't seen the announcement yet, or maybe she had and hadn't processed it. Either way, her posture was unchanged. Chin up, shoulders back, still someone who believed the room owed her something. The turnstile clicked. She looked up. Our eyes met through 3 floors of glass and steel. The change was immediate. Color drained from her face like someone had pulled a plug. Her step faltered, just slightly. Not enough for anyone else to notice. Enough for me. She recovered quickly. Too quickly. Smoothed her jacket. Adjusted her bag. Took a breath. I admired that about her. She didn't run. At 8:30, the all-hands notification went out. Screens across the office lit up simultaneously. A ripple moved through the floor below me, chairs scraping, people settling, voices lowering. I walked out of the boardroom and into the open space. No applause, just attention. That's better. "Good morning," I said again, my voice carrying without effort. "I know this is unexpected. I won't waste your time." I gave them the version of the truth they could handle. Structure, stability, clear expectations, no names, no drama, yet. Then I said the line that mattered. Effective immediately, all workplace conduct policies will be enforced consistently. No exceptions, no legacy arrangements, no misunderstandings. I let that land. Eyes flicked sideways. A few people swallowed. I saw Gavin near the back, leaning against a pillar like he still belonged there. His smile was gone now. He was listening hard, calculating. My wife stood 2 rows ahead of him. She didn't turn around. After the meeting, the floor broke into movement. People rushed to desks, to whispered conversations, to Slack channels that would never forget this morning. I walked straight toward her. "Tessa," I said. She turned slowly. "Yes?" she replied, perfectly neutral. "Conference room," I said. "Glass 1. She hesitated. "HR will be joining us," I added. That did it. She nodded once. "Of course." Gavin took a step forward. "Everything okay?" he asked, too casually. I looked at him for the first time that morning. Really looked. He had shadows under his eyes. The confidence was still there, but now it was working overtime, like a man whistling in the dark. "That depends," I said, "on how honest you plan to be today." He laughed. It came out wrong. The glass conference room felt smaller once the door closed. Lena from HR sat across from us, tablet already open, stylus poised like a weapon she didn't want to use. "Thank you for coming in so quickly," she said. "Happy to help," my wife replied, "though I'm not entirely sure why I'm here." I sat down. "You filed a complaint this morning," I said calmly. Her eyes flicked to Lena, then back to me. "Yes," she said. "I did." "At 6:12 a.m., I continued, "from your home IP address." She stiffened. "I felt uncomfortable," she said. "I didn't know how to handle it." "Uncomfortable with what?" I asked. "With your behavior," she said. "At the event, and afterward." I nodded. "Can you be specific?" She hesitated just long enough. "You were hostile," she said. "Intimidating." Lena glanced between us. "I wasn't aware of any incident reports last night," Lena said carefully. "There wouldn't be," my wife said. "I didn't feel safe escalating it at the time." I folded my hands on the table. "Did you feel unsafe when you followed Gavin back into the building through the side entrance at 9:18 p.m.? I asked. The room went very still. Lena's stylus stopped mid-air. My wife stared at me. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said. "That's okay," I replied. "We'll review access logs together." Gavin's name hadn't been spoken yet, but it was already echoing. Outside the glass walls, people pretended not to watch. They failed. This wasn't a conversation anymore. It was the opening move, and everyone in the building felt it. The room didn't explode the way movies teach you to expect. No shouting, no dramatic exits. Just a quiet pressure settling in, like the moment before a storm when the air goes heavy and your ears pop. Lena from HR cleared her throat. "We'll need to pause here," she said carefully. "Darren, Mr. Holt, if you're making an allegation, we need to follow procedure." "I'm not making an allegation," I said. "I'm asking a question and offering documentation." My wife, Tessa, shifted in her chair. Not panicked, not yet. She was still in performance mode. "This feels inappropriate," she said. "You're my husband. You're also, apparently, my boss. That's a conflict." "It is," I agreed, "which is why HR is present, and why everything I'm asking for will come from systems you already use." I turned slightly so Lena could see me clearly. "I'm requesting a standard preservation order," I said. "Badge access logs for last night, conference room reservations, security footage retention for the side entrance and the freight elevator." Lena didn't answer immediately. She looked at Tessa, then at me, then down at her tablet. "That's reasonable," she said finally. "Given the complaint and the timing." Tessa's eyes widened just a fraction. "Timing?" she asked. "You filed at 6:12 a.m., Lena said. "Before the all hands, before the announcement." Tessa opened her mouth, then closed it. "I couldn't sleep," she said. "I needed to protect myself." "From what?" I asked. She snapped her eyes back to me. "From you." There it was. The narrative she'd prepared in advance. The one that only worked if I behaved the way she expected. Loud, emotional, reckless. I didn't. "I'm going to step out," Lena said, standing. "I'll initiate the review. Until then, I need both of you to limit contact, professionally and personally." She paused, then added, "That includes indirect contact." Tessa nodded stiffly. I nodded once. When the door closed, the silence came back thicker. Tessa leaned forward. "You planned this." "No," I said. "I prepared for it." She laughed, sharp and humorless. "You think logs prove something? People move around. It was an event." "At 9:18, I said. "Most people were leaving." She stood abruptly. "This is insane." "Sit down," I said. The words weren't loud. They didn't need to be. She froze. Outside the glass, heads turned away too late. "You think you're so calm," she said quietly. "You think that makes you right." "I don't care about being right," I replied. "I care about things that leave records." Her phone buzzed on the table. She grabbed it instantly, too instantly. I didn't look at the screen. I didn't need to. "Gavin?" I asked. She stared at me. "Tell him not to," I said. "It won't help." She swallowed. "Don't what?" she said. "Come find me," I replied. She left without another word. I stayed seated for a full minute after she walked out. Letting people see you rush is a mistake. Letting them see you stay is worse. For them. When I stepped back onto the floor, the office felt different. Quieter, like everyone had agreed, without saying it, that something irreversible had started. I went to my temporary office, glass walls, minimalist furniture, a view of the river that cost more than it helped. At 10:06 a.m., Lena knocked. "Badge logs are interesting," she said, not meeting my eyes. "How so?" I asked. "There were multiple after-hours entries last night," she said. 2 badges, same sequence, side door, freight elevator, 3rd floor. She slid her tablet across the desk. I didn't touch it. "Do they overlap with any scheduled work?" I asked. "No," she said. "The conference room they accessed was booked under vendor sync. There was no vendor." "And security?" I asked. "Cameras were active," she said. "No blind spots?" I nodded. "Thank you," I said. "Please continue." She hesitated. "There's something else." "Go on." "One of the badges belongs to Gavin Cade," she said. "The other belongs to your wife." I let the silence answer for me. At 11:20 a.m., Gavin made his mistake. He came to my office. Didn't knock. Just walked in like the rules hadn't changed. "You can't do this," he said, closing the door behind him. I stayed seated. "Sit," I said. He didn't. "This is personal," he said. "You're abusing your position." I smiled faintly. "You came into my office without an appointment, on camera, after being advised by HR to limit contact." He glanced instinctively at the corner of the ceiling. Too late. "You think you're untouchable?" I continued. "That's your real problem." His jaw tightened. "I know people." "So do I said. "Difference is, mine don't joke." He stepped closer. Too close. "You lay off Tessa," he said. "This ends now." I stood, not fast, not slow, just enough to put us eye level. "You don't threaten people in buildings that record audio," I said quietly. "And you don't touch executives." "I didn't," I raised a hand. "Leave," I said. "HR will contact you." He stared at me, breathing hard, then laughed once, sharp and ugly. "This isn't over," he said. "No," I agreed. "It isn't." He left. At 12:03 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number again. "He's losing it. He thinks you're going to fire him." I typed back this time. "I don't need to." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. "He's been doing this longer than you think." "With her?" A pause. "With others." That changed the shape of things. At 1:40 p.m., Lena returned with legal in tow. "We have a complication," legal said. "Good," I replied. "I was hoping for one." They exchanged a look. "There's a disclosure on file," Lena said. "Gavin reported a personal relationship last year." "With Tessa?" I asked. "No," she said. I leaned back. "Who?" I asked. She hesitated. "A senior associate in strategy," she said, "related to a board advisor." Now it clicked. Protection doesn't come from being good. It comes from being inconvenient to punish. "Has that relationship been reviewed?" I asked. "No," legal said. "It was deferred." "Not anymore," I said. At 3:15 p.m., Tessa texted me for the first time since the meeting. "We need to talk, privately." I didn't answer. At 3:47, another message. "I'm pregnant." That one I read twice. Not because I didn't understand it, because I understood exactly how it was meant to be used. I stood up, walked to the window, and watched the river slide past like nothing ever stayed. At 4 p.m., I scheduled an all-hands meeting for the following morning. Subject line, culture reset, mandatory attendance. Then I forwarded the logs to legal, and for the first time since the gala, I felt something like anticipation, not rage, clarity, because now there was no version of this story where anyone walked away laughing. The message sat on my screen like a loaded sentence. I'm pregnant. No punctuation, no emotion, just a statement designed to bend the room around it. I didn't reply. That wasn't cruelty. That was discipline. People think the most powerful response to a bomb is panic. It isn't. It's delay. Delay forces the person who threw it to keep holding the pin in their own head. At 4:22 p.m., legal called. "We need to talk," they said. "Yes," I replied. "We do." The boardroom felt different in the afternoon. Morning meetings carry optimism by accident. Afternoon meetings carry consequences on purpose. Evelyn sat at the head of the table, jacket off now, sleeves rolled. That was her version of intimacy. Legal was beside her, HR across, no empty seats, no spectators. "Walk us through your next move," Evelyn said. "I'm not reacting," I said. "I'm sequencing." She raised an eyebrow. "Explain." I folded my hands. "Tomorrow's all hands isn't about exposure. It's about policy enforcement. Names will not be mentioned publicly. Outcomes will." Legal nodded. HR looked relieved. "And privately?" Evelyn asked. "Privately," I said. "We finish what the documentation started." I slid a folder across the table. Inside, timelines, badge logs, room bookings, written statements, not dramatic, boring. Evelyn scanned it, then leaned back. And the pregnancy claim? She asked. There is a claim, I said. Not proof. I won't weaponize it publicly. I won't dismiss it privately. Good, legal said. I will audit the timeline, I continued. Quietly, dates, travel, medical visits disclosed voluntarily, no shortcuts. Evelyn studied me. You're very controlled, she said. I'm very done, I replied. That got a small smile. I didn't go home that night. I stayed in the temporary apartment and ordered takeout I didn't taste. At 7:18 p.m., my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He's asking people if you can fire him without cause. I replied. Tell him to stop asking questions that generate witnesses. A minute passed. He says he has leverage. I smiled, alone in a room that smelled like cardboard and soy sauce. Everyone thinks that, I typed, until they learn what leverage actually is. At 8:03 p.m., another message came in, this one from Tessa. We need to talk. This isn't something you can ignore. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed, we'll talk tomorrow, with counsel. 3 dots appeared immediately, then vanished. Silence followed. That silence told me more than words ever could. Morning came clean and sharp. I arrived early again. Earlier than necessary. The building was still waking up, lights flicking on floor by floor like a thought forming. The all-hands meeting filled quickly, too quickly. People don't rush unless they're afraid of missing something. I stood at the podium, hands resting lightly on the edge. No notes, no slides, just facts arranged in the right order. Thank you for being here, I said. This won't take long. I spoke about expectations, about consistency, about trust as an operational asset, not a feeling. Then I delivered the line I'd been saving. Effective today, we are separating from several individuals whose conduct violated company policy. The room stilled. These decisions were based on documented behavior, I continued. Not relationships, not performance metrics, behavior. A murmur rippled through the crowd. In addition, I said, any attempt to intimidate, retaliate, or interfere with internal review processes will result in immediate removal. I paused. Let me be clear, I said calmly. This organization rewards excellence. It does not protect entitlement. Eyes flicked toward Gavin. He was pale now, jaw tight, still standing, still pretending. And finally, I said, I expect professionalism from everyone, including myself. Personal matters will be handled through appropriate channels, not hallways, not rumors. I stepped back. Thank you. No applause, just the sound of people breathing again. It happened faster than he expected. Security met Gavin at his desk, calm, polite, document in hand, no raised voices, no spectacle. He looked at me across the floor, eyes wide with disbelief. I didn't look away. Tessa didn't either. She stood frozen near the aisle, one hand pressed to her stomach like it was both shield and weapon. HR guided her toward a private room. Not fired, not yet, contained. That mattered. The confrontation came later. Parking garage, concrete echo, fluorescent lights buzzing like insects. I heard him before I saw him. You think you won, Gavin said. I turned. He was red-faced now, jacket gone, sleeves rolled like a parody of effort. I think you talked yourself into a corner, I replied. He laughed, bitter. You don't know who you messed with. I know exactly who you are, I said. That's why this worked. He stepped closer. Too close. He stopped himself. Smart, finally. Security cameras watched us both. This is your last warning, he said. I leaned in just enough that he could hear me. You were never a threat, I said quietly. You were a liability pretending to be a man. That did it. He swung, not at me, but at the concrete pillar beside my head. His fist cracked against it, pain blooming instantly. He screamed. Security arrived seconds later. Witnesses always do. The meeting with Tessa happened that afternoon. Conference room, same glass walls, same HR rep, legal present. She looked smaller now, not weaker, smaller. I didn't plan it, she said. Not like this. You planned enough, I replied. She swallowed. I don't even know if it's yours. The words landed flat. I know, I said. She stared at me. You do? I know the dates, I said. I know when you stopped coming home. I know when you started lying badly. Tears came then, real ones, or better, fakes. I didn't care anymore. What do you want? She asked. I didn't hesitate. Your resignation, I said. Effective immediately, a clean exit, no statements, no interviews, no performances. And the baby? She whispered. That's between you and reality, I said. Not me and this company. Legal slid the papers forward. She looked at them like they might bite. Then she signed. By evening, the building felt lighter, not happier, just cleaner. I stood alone in my office, watching the river move again, unchanged by any of it. My phone buzzed one last time. Unknown number. He's gone. Like, gone. I replied, Good. I shut the lights off and left. The turnstiles clicked behind me. Click, click. The sound followed me into the night, and I didn't look back. The tow truck arrived right on time. Not dramatic, not loud. Just a diesel engine rolling into the garage like it had an appointment, which, technically, it did. Facilities had flagged the vehicle earlier. Unauthorized parking, repeated violations, paperwork clean enough to survive a courtroom. Gavin was still there. He hadn't left with security. Pride wouldn't let him. He stood by his truck like a man guarding a dying animal, phone pressed to his ear, voice sharp and panicked. You can't do this, he kept saying. I'm telling you, this is retaliation. No one was listening. The operator stepped out, calm, clipboard in hand, asked for keys. Gavin swore, loud. The sound echoed off concrete and steel, bouncing back at him like mockery. I watched from a distance, didn't intervene, didn't gloat. This wasn't about me anymore. When the clamps went on the wheels, something inside Gavin cracked. Not anger, fear, the kind that shows up when the world stops bending around you. He spotted me then. You did this, he shouted, pointing like a child. You think you're untouchable? I walked closer, slowly, enough that the cameras caught every step. I didn't touch your truck, I said, or your career, or your mouth. He lunged, not smart, not controlled, just instinct. Security moved fast this time, 2 hands on his shoulders, firm, practiced, no violence, just inevitability. Get your hands off me, he yelled. Phones were out now, always are. Someone laughed nervously. Someone else whispered my name. Gavin twisted, red-faced, veins out like he'd finally run out of lies and didn't know what to do with the truth. This isn't over, he screamed as they dragged him back. You hear me? This isn't... The truck lifted his vehicle. Metal groaned, tires left concrete. The sentence ended unfinished. I didn't wait to see where they took him. Upstairs, the lobby was full, not officially. Just people who hadn't gone home yet. People who wanted to see how the story ended. Tessa stood near the glass doors. No HR, no legal. Just her. She looked hollow now, makeup streaked, hair pulled back without care. The performance finally over because there was no audience left to save. Darren, she said. I stopped a few feet away. This didn't have to be like this, she said. You didn't have to destroy everything. I looked at her. I didn't, I said. I stopped pretending. She shook her head, tears spilling freely now. You're enjoying this. No, I replied. I'm finishing it. She took a step toward me. Security tensed. I raised a hand, not to stop them, to stop her. Don't, I said. She froze. I let you laugh at me, I continued. I let you think I was small. That was the last gift you'll ever get from me. Her mouth opened, closed. Behind her, The glass doors reflected the scene back at us. Two people who used to be married, now just shapes in a building that would forget her name by Monday. "Tell them it wasn't like that," she whispered. I leaned in close enough that only she could hear. "It was exactly like that," I said. "You just weren't supposed to meet the version of me who keeps records." I turned away. The turnstiles clicked as I walked through. Click, click, click. Outside, the rain had stopped. The streetlights reflected cleanly off the wet pavement, and the air smelled like metal and distance. I got into my car, started the engine, and pulled into traffic without checking the mirrors. Behind me, someone shouted my name. I didn't slow down, because revenge isn't about rage. It's about walking away at the exact moment they finally understand what they lost.